Hi, Yogi. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
Beautiful. And thank you too for, being here. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Okay,
Thank
Yogi.
you.
Yeah, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. All right. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking, because I believe in order to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, Yogi, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. Okay, the second reason why I'm excited to have Yogi on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You know, Yogi, we are living in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We have all sort of information here and there. So my listeners trust me for quality information. And that's why when I came across your profile, when we connected, I was so excited because I believe I am definitely going to get praises after our conversation for bringing you on. So for that reason, Yogi, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your journey, personal journey, professional journey, how you got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Yogi, over to you.
Well, I love beautiful questions. um, so I know that our time is short, so I'll give you the elevator pitch version of my story and how I got to where I am. I started doing yoga when I was 18. I did it to stretch and to become more flexible. I got more flexible, but the muscle tightness didn't go away. And what started to also come in its wake was pain. I started developing serious and chronic pain. And my journey over the following 25 years took me on a lot of highs and lows with my own chronic pain journey. I developed all kinds of issues. And I finally ended up in the hospital at the age of around 45 with an orthopedic surgeon telling me that I might need a spinal fusion in my lower back. So it was a very bad situation. And people don't get spinal fusions unless it's very chronic. I then asked the question, what don't I know?
I get
and
it.
and and that kind of took me into this whole other way of practicing yoga, which is more about number one, stop stretching. I think that this idea of stretching has hijacked what people think of as yoga. It's completely taken over. People think of yoga and they think of stretching, and yoga is so much more than that. I loved what you open with this idea of ignorance equals darkness and knowledge equals light, and that is the foundation idea. That's a very foundational idea of in yogic philosophy. The Sanskrit word for darkness is tamas, and tamas means darkness. It means ignorance. It also denotes this idea that we're lost and that we want to pull ourselves out of being lost. And the only way to do that is through the light of knowledge. And the Sanskrit word for that is the joytier. And the word for joytier is that light, that perennial light that exists in our heart, is also the light of knowledge. So I could talk for a long time about that. It's one of my favorite topics. But I then asked the question, what don't I know? And that led me into this whole practice of activating muscles as opposed to forcing them to stretch. And what I've found is that when we stretch, we go against the muscle function of the body. And if we want to improve muscle function, we need to work with what the muscles are actually supposed to do, which is to contract, to shorten. And so it's kind of flipping the script on the way that we look at yoga, the way that we practice yoga, the way that we move our body, and starting to move our body in a way that's actually supportive rather than violating our body's protective mechanisms. So that's my short elevator story.
Beautiful. The part that you asked the doctor that you said, what is it that you don't know? That part got me. I tell you. I
Yes.
tell you. What an interesting journey you have. But you also mentioned something as to stretching. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I came across a particular video where that individual was talking about how important it is to stretch. And he used a cat as an example, mentioned how
Uh-huh.
cats stretch their back and all of that, that if cats can be doing stuff like that, that we humans too needs to prioritize stretching because it is good for the health. So now I want to know, that's going to be the very first question. All right. Does stretching causes harm to the body? I'm just so curious right now.
So I think that the better question to ask, I think, is, I mean, that's a good question, but I think another way of framing it is, what does stretching do to the body? And so what stretching does, and a lot of your listeners will probably think I'm crazy. They will say that I'm a lunatic. And a lot of those people that say those things just don't understand the biomechanics of stretching, or the science of stretching. And so when I talk about the science of stretching, I'm I'm talking about how the body actually works. And so a lot of people then turn around and go, well, show me the evidence. Where are the scientific studies? And asking me to show the scientific studies is as ridiculous as me saying, well, show me the scientific studies that you're breathing. You know, like, this is just how the body works. And so when we start to passively force a muscle to lengthen, what happens is that there's a loss of proprioception. The proprioceptors in our body become desensitized. And the proprioceptors basically is that connection between your brain and your fingertips or your limbs, your arms. Like, if I touch you, that's proprioception, when you can feel it. And some people, by the way, don't feel it. And then some people are hypersensitive. So if you just touch them, they like really get anxious because it's just so much sensation. So all of us have different proprioception. But the proprioception I'm talking about is between the brain and the muscles. And so there's communication in a healthy person going on all the time between the brain and the muscles. If you twist your body to the right and reach up and grab something from the shelf, there's an immediate, when I say immediate, I mean faster than lightning. There's a connection going on between the brain and the muscles. Now, if I start to passively do that motion, if I passively stretch, then what I do is I cut that proprioception. So the brain no longer knows where the muscles are. And that's not a good thing, because those muscles then lose their ability to function properly. One of the terms that's out there is that the muscle loses its force output. If you were to stretch your shoulders, like do a deep stretch in your shoulders, and then go and do a bench press, you're going to notice that it's really hard to do that bench press. Whereas if you didn't stretch and you did that bench press, it's going to be a lot easier. Why is that? Because all those muscles in your shoulders basically turned off. When I say turned off, that means that your brain doesn't know where those muscles are in space. So when we stretch, we actually desensitize this connection between the brain and the muscles. And the older we get, the longer it takes for that connection to be reintegrated. And I would argue that there's a lot of people walking around with almost permanent disconnection. Can we reintegrate it? Yes, that's what I do, is I reintegrate people into their body through muscle activation. So muscle activation is the way to start rebuilding that connection again.
I got that.
Your,
I got
your
that.
brain is exploding.
Because we've actually been conditioned to believe
Yeah.
the importance of this stuff. So getting to learn something new, I tell you,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's
Well,
amazing. But
I just, to
yeah,
people that say that too, like there's a lot of blind people leading the blind, in this world. At one time, there was a
that's
lot of
right.
people that believed that the world was flat, the earth is flat. I mean, there's still some people that do, they're crazy. But, the idea that the earth was round was inconceivable to people. And so my point is that just because people keep saying something doesn't mean that it's true. And that's why I'm really on the bandwagon to get people to stop stretching. From what I've seen in my life on my own journey, but also thousands of other people are hurting themselves constantly in stretching, using stretching as a way to get out of pain, but they're actually making themselves be more in pain. So that's why I love having this conversation.
Beautiful. I love that. And that's a good job you're doing because it's a very important one. You see, I fell in love with the word yoga when I discovered what it means. The
Mm.
integration between the body, mind, and the spirit. So I want to ask, how did you come to create your yoga approach? Applied yoga, anatomy plus muscle activation.
So that's a loaded statement, but I completely agree with you that yoga in and of itself is a way for us to integrate and bring all of our parts to our together, and then to bring those parts and integrate them into our life so that we can become more effective in life, that we can be more skillful. That's a good word to use, that we become more skillful in life. And that's really the purpose of yoga. We look at the teachings of the Gita, the ultimate teaching is, become more skillful, become the best version of yourself. And I think and have found through my own journey, as well as, helping other people, that when we're in pain, we can't be as skillful. When a person is in pain, we're constantly thinking, how can I get out of pain? When we're in pain, sometimes we're not a very nice person.
That's right.
We're not nice. We're not nice to
Yeah,
other people. So I find that if we can get people out of pain, get people a little stronger, get people breathing better, get people a little bit more relaxed. And when we're relaxed, we're at home within ourselves. And the ultimate goal of yoga is so that we can be fully at home and at rest within ourselves. So that's my goal, is to help people arrive at that state, to be completely at rest and at home within themselves.
beautiful. Folks who are dedicating their time, energy, resources to providing solution, I tend to find them really smart and great because if you want to be a great leader, you must serve. And that's what I see you doing with your solution, serving your solution to folks who are in need of it. And that's a great one. I love
Hmm.
that. So let us
Thank
talk
you. I
about,
appreciate that.
yeah, man. Let us talk about the secret to staying young through muscle activation.
Yeah, because what happens is when as we lose muscle function, our body often takes certain shapes. And the biggest evidence of this is when you see old people older people, let's say older people, not old people, older people. And older people, by the way, can be anybody above 30, okay? 40, 50, 60, whatever age. But as we start to age, one of the most common things that you often see people doing is hunching over. They have rounded backs, their shoulders slump. And the older they get, a lot of times, the more hunched they become. And why is that? Well, there's a few reasons for that. I mean, we could talk about that for an hour in and of itself. But the simple answer, maybe a little bit myopic, but is that their muscles aren't working properly. All the muscles in their back have lost their ability to work. And so what do the muscles in the back do? They pull us up into an erect position. So one of the ways, and there's a few different ways, but often age happens in the muscular system, in the neuromuscular system. That ability for muscles to do what they're supposed to do, contract and contract on demand, is lost. And so people start to become frail. They start moving less. They don't move as much, and they become hunched over, and they become smaller versions of themselves. And so my goal is to help as many people as possible, especially as we age, to give them a new lease on life. And you can do that very quickly by getting that responsiveness in the neuromuscular response working properly. So muscle activation is one of the gateways to that. As soon as we start to improve that neuromuscular response, and I have witnessed it. I had a 70-year-old woman in my teacher training a couple of weeks ago, and I watched her, and she's been actually with me for a while, and she just sort of stopped doing her exercises so much. After 2 weeks with me, it was amazing watching her, the strength that she got back in her body very quickly, the mobility that she had. She was also like, Aaron, some of these aches and pains that I was carrying with me are not here anymore. And I said, see, Ginger, when you start doing these things every day, it makes a difference. And so we can reclaim that vitality. We just have to make an effort and do the correct things. What is the correct thing? The most simplistic way to say it: stop stretching, start activating.
Amazing, amazing. I
Yes.
love it. You see, I would have to listen to our conversation over and over again because that strong
Yeah.
gold. Yeah, it has to get out. I tell you, because
Yes.
I believe your words, and that's why I dedicate my time to seeking knowledge because there are so many wrong and false informations out there. I tell you, that's a good one. So, to bring this
Well,
to an
and
end,
I'm just
Yogi.
going to back
Okay,
that. I'm just going to say
okay.
one quick thing, and that is for your listeners to experiment. Go on a stretching spree for a week or two and see how that feels. Then do muscle activation for a week or two and stop stretching and see how you feel. You'll see the difference like very quickly. It's a night and day difference. And you'll feel it in your body. So you have to conduct experiments, and experimenting is the way that we know if something is true or not.
That's right. That's right. I got that. I got that. Okay. I think I'll try that out too. Thank you. Okay, Yogi. So, to bring this to an end, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those ones who would like to reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, you've opened our eyes to so many amazing stuffs today, and it resonated, and they would love to learn more. How can that be possible?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, go to my website, yogiaaron.com. I hope you put it in the show notes. Go to my Instagram page, Yogi Aaron. Contact me. If you're in pain, my message is this: if you're in pain, or especially if you're not in pain and never want to be in pain, contact me. I'm here to support you wherever you're at. We can flip the script on your pain journey. You don't have to be in pain. I promise you, we can make a huge difference. I've seen it over and over and over that people's pain stories flip and they start to live their best life. I was just interviewing one of my students yesterday for a piece I'm working on, and he was saying that before he met me, he couldn't do anything that he loved, skiing, golfing, all of these kind of sports, because he was in so much pain. He found AYAMA, Applied Yoga Anatomy and Muscle Activation, started doing it, and he's back to skiing. He went skiing all last winter. And before that was an impossible thing for him. So we can flip it. And by the way, he's 60 years old. So it doesn't matter what age you are, we can flip the script. But contact me, reach out. I'm here to support you.
Beautiful. Stories like that are really, really inspiring. I love it. I love it. So that's going to be the end of the show, Yogi. Thank you so very much for being here. And thank you for sharing these powerful words with us. I just realized some things again, and that's amazing. I love that. Thank you so very much, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show and sharing this knowledge.